Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to be installing new carrier bearings into my XJ. If you're new here, welcome to my channel and don't forget to subscribe. You want to watch Daddy do the press? It's impressive! So after I noticed that the axle vent was broken, I went ahead and did a full inspection inside my axle, and my bearings have some issues. Now I'm sure that they've been having issues for a while, but when I installed my Spartan locker, they didn't look that bad, and I really didn't want to mess with them at that point. So today I'm going to try to show you guys a couple of different ways on how to remove these and reinstall them. So this is the carrier out of my Dana 30. If you need to know how to remove the carrier, you can check out this video over here. This video is when I installed my Spartan locker, and it has a step-by-step on how to remove the carrier. So the first thing that I'm going to do is cut off this outer piece here. All you need to do is cut a little bit at the bottom and a little bit at the top. Take extra care not to cut into your carrier. But you should be able to just take a little die grinder or even a hacksaw and cut off this outer ring. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And I'm going to do that for both sides. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my carrier here and I'm going to jig it up into my press. Now what I'm going to use is this bearing puller. It's a bearing puller, separator, whatever you want to call it. I got this from Harbor Freight. It actually comes in a kit to be able to put this in here. There's a jig that goes in here and it will help pull everything out. But the problem is it's from Harbor Freight and it broke not too long ago, and I decided not to get another one. They're about $50 for a good quality one. It is a lot more than that. So what I'm going to do is just use this to rig it up into my press. Now what we're looking for here, we're trying to get it hooked into the lip right here on the bearing. And that will be what we bite onto, because you can tell that there's nothing here to bite onto. Now you do want to make sure it's on there tight enough, because if it's not, it'll actually pull this lip off or roll this lip over, and you won't have a good surface to grab onto it. So I'm just going to send it up from underneath. Latch this on there and tighten it down. Now for the press to have something to push up against, I have a socket here that is the same size as the hole of the bearing. So it should push the carrier away from the bearing. Just going to set it in. It should set in perfect. And then, so my press doesn't ruin my socket, I've got a little steel plate I'm going to put over the top of that. And there we go. The bearing is off. So now I'm going to show you guys another method. Okay, so the other way I'm going to do this on this other bearing is I'm actually going to take my die grinder and slowly cut a line in here, and instead of cutting a straight line, I'm going to cut a long diagonal line just like this, and I'm not going to cut all the way through. I'm going to cut most of the way through, and then we're going to pop it the rest of the way. Now once you're most of the way through, but not all the way through because we don't want to cut into our carrier, you should be able to take a hammer and a nice chisel and just pop it. Now you can see that I didn't cut all the way through, but also it's broken. I just cut almost all the way through and then popped it with a chisel, and it broke the rest of the way. And now there should be enough tension relieved that you can just pop it off of there. And just like that, it's off. Now, you might have some shims on your carrier. You want to take note of what goes where, because when you put it all back together, you want to make sure you put the shims back where they came from. So the next thing that I'm going to do to help me get the new bearings on a whole lot easier is I'm going to go put this in my freezer. The key is that I'm going to get it really cold, and that will shrink the metal, which will help my bearings slide on easier.
2 hours later.
So it's almost time to pull our carrier out of the freezer, but before we pull it out of our freezer, we're actually going to put our bearings in the oven. Now I like to put them in the oven around 400 degrees for like 20 to 30 minutes, and that gets them nice and hot, and we should be able to slide everything together without too much force. Alright, so it's time to get things out of the oven and out of the freezer, and I'll meet you right here. We also need to remember our shims that we took off earlier. And I'm going to set this right over the top. Just like that. And it's on there good. Now I can set my other shim down here. And then this bearing. Voila! If you like this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. So when you're doing this, if you're not doing it fast enough, you'll end up having to refreeze and reheat your bearing on the other side. If you're going to be filming and taking extra time doing it, you're probably not going to have enough time to slap it all together, and I ran into some issues, but that's okay.